Welcome back. Today, we're walking through a truly fascinating explainer on the hidden reasons behind life's unexpected turns. Have you ever watched someone's life completely transform in the blink of an eye? It's wild. Life can change in an absolute instant. One day, a person might be enjoying peak success, wealth, happiness, and total stability. And then, literally the very next day, the whole shebang just seems to fall apart. And we see people experience the exact opposite too. After years of grueling struggle, they suddenly stumble into incredible opportunities, sudden prosperity, and just wild, unexpected success. These dramatic, whiplash-inducing changes, they often leave us scratching our heads. Okay, let's dive into this because when we see these massive shifts, we really have to ask ourselves, is it simply luck or are deeper forces at work? The mechanics behind why lives change in an instant are incredibly complex. While it might be super tempting to just shrug and blame it on a roll of the dice, the source material we're looking at today reveals that psychology, spirituality, and our lived human experience actually offer a much deeper, far more fascinating explanation for why fortunes can flip so incredibly quickly. There's a really stark contrast between the legendary overnight success, where years of struggle just seemingly vanish into instant prosperity, new opportunities, and massive breakthroughs, and sudden ruin. That's the terrifying reality where wealth, stability, and happiness are lost quite literally overnight. By placing these two extremes side by side, we can clearly see the massive stakes involved here. We're talking about going from zero to everything, or from total stability to things completely falling apart. To understand how we swing between these two extremes, well, we need to look far beneath the surface.
Section 1. The Illusion of Sudden Change, Life Cycles and Karma.
So if we treat sudden change like a giant iceberg, spiritual traditions are really the massive structure beneath the waterline. They tell us life doesn't just move in a straight, uninterrupted line. Instead, it moves in cycles. Think of it like the changing of the seasons. Just as a harsh winter eventually gives way to spring, human life goes through unavoidable periods of growth, challenge, loss, and renewal. And these phases have distinct purposes. Moments of prosperity aren't just a reward. They're a season meant to teach us gratitude and responsibility. Conversely, moments of hardship are the seasons designed to build our resilience, our patience, and our inner strength. From this perspective, sudden reversals aren't random, chaotic events. They are simply natural parts of life's ongoing seasonal journey.
And this brilliantly illustrates another major spiritual explanation for shifting fortunes, the concept of karma. In many spiritual philosophies, karma suggests that every single action creates consequences. But listen, we need to debunk a massive myth right now. Karma is heavily misunderstood as a simple system of instant reward and punishment. Instead, as many spiritual teachers explain, it's actually an ongoing process of learning, balance, and personal growth, rather than just instant justice.
Building directly on that redefined understanding of karma, we arrive at this key insight. Sudden reversals often represent the unfolding of long-term causes, rather than a single random event. Positive actions might eventually lead to favorable opportunities, while harmful actions may create future challenges. But the crucial takeaway here is that these consequences can take years to materialize. So when that consequence finally does arrive, it looks incredibly sudden to an outside observer, but in reality, it's just the final domino falling in a very long chain.
Section 2. Beneath the Surface, the Psychology of Preparation.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Now that we've looked at the spiritual cycles, let's shift our analytical lens. Psychology offers a really powerful perspective here. The so-called overnight success usually takes about 6 years. It starts with developing skills in the shadows, then spending years failing and learning from those painful failures, which, let's be honest, is just a nice way of saying you're making a lot of embarrassing mistakes. Then there's grinding away, building essential relationships, and improving habits. And then, finally, boom, a sudden opportunity changes everything. To the public, it looks like success happened overnight, but this visible breakthrough is absolutely the result of years of unseen preparation.
But remember, this psychological buildup works in both directions. Just as success is built quietly, so is failure. It begins by casually ignoring warning signs, which then spirals into making repeated poor decisions and a slow neglect of important everyday responsibilities. Now, none of these individually ruins a life, but they compound into a sudden, unexpected setback. To the person experiencing it, the disaster seems to come totally out of nowhere. But psychologically speaking, it's been developing and festering over a really long period of time.
Section 3. The Chaos Factor, the Wild Card of Circumstance.
Of course, we absolutely have to acknowledge the pragmatist's point of view here. External circumstances play a massive role. Economic changes, technological advances, health issues, natural disasters, political events, literally any single one of these can dramatically alter a person's life in an instant. A wildly successful business can suddenly struggle just because the broader market changed. Conversely, a struggling business might suddenly explode in growth just by getting swept up in a new technological trend. These are the chaotic variables that force sudden pivots in fortune, completely regardless of how well you prepared.
There's a saying that sometimes fortune changes not because a person deserves it, but because life itself is unpredictable and constantly evolving. If you've ever felt unfairly targeted by a streak of bad luck, let this bring you some comfort. It isn't always a failing on your part. It isn't always a lack of preparation. Sometimes the universe is just chaotic. Life is constantly evolving, and sometimes we just get caught in the unpredictable crossfire of that evolution.
Section 4. The core of the iceberg: mindset, resilience, and balance. So, the crucial point is, with all these unseen psychological buildups, long-term spiritual cycles, and completely random, chaotic external events, what can we actually control? Mindset. During difficult times, a person with a resilient mindset views setbacks as temporary challenges, not permanent failures. This attitude lets them recover faster and spot hidden opportunities. In total contrast, a person with a fearful mindset operates with negativity and a resistance to change. This fearful internal response actually makes difficult situations even worse, turning what should be a temporary problem into a lasting, lifelong struggle. Your internal response dictates whether a sudden change ruins you or redirects you.
If you want proof, we just need to look at history. History is absolutely filled with stories of people whose fortunes changed overnight based strictly on their mindset. Take Thomas Edison, facing thousands of failed prototypes before the sudden, remarkable success of the light bulb. He saw those failures as steps forward and kept adapting. On the flip side, we see the exact opposite: massive corporate empires like Blockbuster. We're talking about highly influential leaders who had absolutely everything, but they became overconfident. They failed to adapt to changing circumstances when streaming technology arrived, and as a result, they lost everything almost overnight. These historical examples prove two absolute rules of life: success is never guaranteed, and failure is rarely permanent. Which brings us to the ultimate lesson derived from all these sudden reversals of fortune: the absolute necessity of balance. When you experience good fortune, wealth, success, and comfort, that shouldn't inspire pride. It must inspire humility, gratitude, and generosity. Likewise, when you hit a sudden reversal and face hardship, you cannot fall into despair. That hardship must encourage patience, learning, and perseverance. You have to maintain balance, because every single stage of life, the good and the terrifying, carries a valuable lesson and an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely redefines what it means to be fortunate. As our source text leaves us, true fortune is not measured only by wealth or success, but by our ability to adapt, learn, and continue moving forward no matter what changes life brings. Ultimately, why do some people experience sudden reversals? Well, it's a combination of life's natural cycles, personal choices, years of unseen preparation, changing external circumstances, and spiritual unfoldings. We can't control every single event that happens to us, but we have absolute control over how we respond to them.
And that leaves us with one final, very important question for you to consider. Based on everything we've uncovered in this explainer, the unseen psychology, the long-term karmic actions, the necessity of a resilient mindset, how are you preparing today for your next season of life? Are you building the skills and the humility you're going to need when the wind suddenly shifts? Take a hard look at your own unseen preparations. Because as we've learned today, life's next sudden change is never a matter of if, but simply a matter of when.